All right, so testing mic 1 2, just going live. It's a little late here, but the the very well anticipated governor's speech from the Bank of Japan is pretty much live. It just went live a couple minutes ago, so I just tried to figure out a way to get this translated because it's not live translated by the authority directly. So we're gonna have to look. Well, I looked for some really decent Google extensions to see what we can do. So either way, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is Future Trend Today. My name is Future Trend Lou. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Let me just actually prop up a little bit here. There we go. Should be easier. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like, and join in. We're actually following this because it greatly affects the rest of the global markets. Obviously, we just recently took notice of the fact that the Bank of Japan recently just hiked their interest rate to 0.75, which is the highest it's been in 30 years. That's the highlight. That's the sound bite. But the rationale is what's going to be explained here in this live stream. So I'm just going to hit. Yeah, I'm just going to hit play, and we'll catch up here. Maybe I'll extend this or increase the speed a little bit to make sure that we're in the same. Let me see if I can even change the titling of this. I don't think I have yet, but anyway, I'll just catch up later.
幹事社の読売新聞の池田と申します。本日の会見時間はいつも通り45分を予定しており、最大60分とさせていただければと思います。できる限り多くの皆様に質問していただくため、質問の数を絞ったり、内容もできる限り簡潔にするなど、皆様のご協力をお願いできればと思います。また、司会者から指名された際には、どの席から発言しているかが分かるよう、挙手したまま社名と氏名を述べた上で質問いただくなどご配慮をお願いいたします。それでは上田総裁、本日の金融政策決定会合の内容についてご説明をお願いします。
はい。本日の決定会合では、金融市場調節方針について、政策金利であります無担保コールレートオーバーナイトものの誘導目標を従来の 0.5% 程度から 0.75% 程度へと変更することを全員一致で決定しました。これに伴い、保管当座預金制度の適用利率および基準貸付利率の変更も決定いたしました。続いて、今回の金融市場調節方針の変更の背景にある経済物価情勢についてご説明します。まず景気ですが、一部に弱めの動きも見られますが、緩やかに回復しています。賃金をめぐる環境を整理しますと、労働需給は引き締まった状況が続いているほか、企業収益は関税政策の影響を加味しても、全体として高い水準を維持することが見込まれます。こうした下で、春季労使交渉に向けた労使の対応方針や、日本銀行の本支店を通じたヒアリング情報等を踏まえますと、来年は今年に続き、しっかりとした賃上げが実施される可能性が高く、企業の積極的な賃金設定行動が途切れるリスクは低いと考えられます。この間、米国経済や各国の通商政策の影響をめぐる不確実性は引き続き残っていますが、低下しています。物価面を見ますと、賃金上昇の販売価格への転嫁の動きが続く下で、消費者物価の基調的な上昇率は緩やかな上昇が続いています。このように最近のデータやヒアリング情報からは、賃金と物価がともに緩やかに上昇していくメカニズムが維持される可能性が高いと考えられ、先行き展望レポートの見通し期間後半には、基調的な物価上昇率が 2% の物価安定の目標と、おおむね整合的な水準で推移するという中心的な見通しが実現する角度は高まっています。 こうした経済物価情勢を踏まえ、今日の会合では、2% の物価安定目標の持続的安定的な実現という観点から、金融緩和の度合いを調整することが適切であると判断しました。
I'm going to pause that right now. So he's just discussing their goal, which is similar to the goal of the Fed to maintain a 2%. Well, I guess he's talking about price stability here, but in general, it's almost in line with what the rest of the world is going for. He's going over the economic factors that affect their decision, and pretty much is going through a laundry list of all the gross domestic product factors from a Japanese specific lens. So there's a lot of it's going to be pretty dry, but yeah, it's his job is pretty heavy. So we'll see how far he goes with explaining.
政策金利の変更後も実質金利は大幅なマイナスが続き、緩和的な金融環境は維持されるため、引き続き経済活動をしっかりとサポートしていくと考えています。今後の金融政策運営については、現在の実質金利が極めて低い水準にあることを踏まえますと、展望レポートで示している経済物価の見通しが実現していくとすれば、経済物価情勢の改善に応じて引き続き政策金利を引き上げ、金融緩和の度合いを調整していくことになると考えています。日本銀行は 2% の物価安定の目標の下で、その持続的安定的な実現という観点から、経済物価金融情勢に応じて適切に金融政策を運営していく方針です。以上でございます。
総裁、ありがとうございました。それでは幹事社からまず2問まとめて質問を申し上げます。本日、追加利上げを決めた理由について詳しくご説明をお願いいたします。判断材料とされた賃上げの見通しに加え、不透明感が低下したとされる米国の関税政策、米国経済の足元での評価について教えてください。2問目は、今後の利上げペース、中立金利についての考え方を教えてください。今回の利上げ後もなお緩和的で、経済物価情勢に応じて引き続き政策金利を引き上げる、緩和度合いを調整するということですが、かねて示されている中立金利の推定幅の下限は 1% であり、今回の利上げで一歩下限に近づく中、今後の利上げにあたり、一段と注意して観察されるデータ、情報があれば教えてください。
まず最初の利上げの背景ですけれども、前回の10月の決定会合では、アメリカをはじめ海外経済をめぐる不確実性がなお高い状況にあったことに加えまして、我が国企業の積極的な賃金設定行動が途切れることがないかどうかを見極める、そういう観点から来年の春季労使交渉に向けた初動のモメンタムがしっかりしているかどうかは確認したいというふうに考え、政策金利を据え置きました。その後の動向を見ますと、まずアメリカ経済については、関税コストの販売価格への転嫁が引き続き緩やかなものにとどまる中で、個人消費が堅調に推移しています。それから AI 関連需要の拡大を背景に、設備投資も増加を続けています。
All right, so worth taking into consideration here. He's saying, well, he said in the previous segment or thought that he just shared that at the previous decision-making meeting in October, we decided to leave the policy interest rate unchanged because, in addition to the fact that there was still a high degree of certainty regarding overseas economies. I don't know if it read that as certainty or uncertainty, but sure, it says certainty, including the United States. We also wanted to see if companies' aggressive wage setting actions would continue. And from that perspective, we would like to see if some sort of moment. Okay, I don't know if I'm reading this correctly or if this is not translating appropriately, but they're essentially always trying to move in lockstep with other economies, and that's pretty much the same thing that the Bank of Canada does as well. It's almost like a push and pull. Bank of Canada would take a stab at decreasing the interest rates, and then in the same vein, the Fed would follow the suit, or and so on and so forth. But the only reason why this this particular bank is very pivotal following the Bank of Japan because of the amount of debt that they hold, so or I guess the amount of debt that's owed to them as well. So if the interest rates increase, which they have, a lot of loans will be much more expensive, I'm assuming. I have to polish up on my details there, but it definitely isn't good, and that's what's reflected in the crypto market for sure. I'm yet to see what it will look like for stocks on open tomorrow, but we'll see.
こうした点を踏まえて、労働市場の動向などなお留意すべき点は少なくないわけですが、経済全体の下振れリスクは一頃より低下していると考えました。次に、関税政策の我が国経済への影響については、製造業を中心に収益に下押し圧力がかかってはいますが、設備投資や雇用賃金動向を含め経済全体に波及している様子は伺われないと見ています。こうした中、今週ですね、発表されました単価を見ますと、企業収益についても製造業を含め今年度の収益計画が3ヶ月前の計画から小幅ですが上方修正となるなど、先行きの不透明感は次第に薄れてきています。このように米国経済や関税政策の影響をめぐる不確実性は引き続き残ってはいますが、低下している。で、その上で先ほど申し上げた通り、この間明らかとなってきました労使の、来年春闘に向けた対応方針や私どもの本支店を通じたヒアリング情報等を踏まえますと、来年は今年に続きしっかりとした賃上げが実施される可能性が高いと考えられます。消費者物価の基調的な上昇率について緩やかな上昇が続いていることと合わせて考えると、今後とも賃金と物価がともに緩やかに上昇するメカニズムが維持される可能性が高く、私どもの経済物価の中心的な見通しが実現する角度が高まっていると判断しました。こうした経済物価情勢を踏まえ、今日の会合では 2% の物価安定目標の持続的安定的実現という観点から、これまでお示ししていました金融政策運営方針に沿って政策金利を引き上げ、金融緩和の度合いを調整することが適切であると判断したところです。続いて今後についてのご質問ですけれども、まず先行きの金利パスや金融緩和の度合いを調整するペースは、今後の経済物価金融情勢次第であって、毎回の金融政策決定会合において経済物価の見通しやリスク、見通し実現の角度をアップデートしながら適切に判断していく方針です。それから、中立金利ですけれども、中立金利の推計値ですが、以前よりずっとお話ししてきました通り、相当なばらつきがあります。したがいまして、その水準を前もって特定することは難しく、かなりの幅を持ってみる必要があるというふうに考えています。このことを前提にしますと、私どもとしては今後とも短期金利の変化に対する経済物価の反応を点検し、中立金利の水準をそういうことから探りながら、金融緩和の度合いを調整していくことが適当と考えています。その上で金融緩和の度合いを評価するにあたっては、短期金利と中立金利の関係だけでなくて、実質金利の水準や貸し出しの動向などを含め、経済物価金融情勢を丁寧に点検しながら総合的に判断していく必要があると考えています。以上です。
総裁ありがとうございました。では各社様質問をお願いします。
はい、日本経済新聞斉藤さんお願いします。 日本経済新聞の斉藤です。よろしくお願いいたします。私から2問ございます。まず1つがですね、今回の利上げで政策金利が30年ぶりの高さになったと思います。日本がですね、長期にわたるデフレや低金利時代から抜け出す、さらに一歩抜け出したというふうにも捉えられますが、総裁として今回のこの利上げで30年ぶりの政策金利水準ということの歴史的な意義についてお考えを伺えればと思います。2問目ですが、先行きの利上げについてですけれども、先ほどもご言及がありましたが、今回の声明文で利上げ後で
I don't think the translator is actually catching this because it's too quick, so I just turned this back down to normal speed. Let's see if I could catch something more substantial here. They're in the question session, which is interesting. The entire, I think he took about maybe 20 minutes of, the breadth of his actual speech took 20 minutes. Let's see if this catches this next question here.
もう実質金利は大幅なマイナスが続き、極めて低い水準という従来の表現を踏襲されているかと思います。これはいわゆるターミナルレートが引き上がったため、その 0.25% 上げてもまだかなり距離があるということなのか、あるいは単純にその実質金利のマイナス幅が深いということを指しているのか、もう少しこの極めて低いというご見解の背景についてご説明をいただければと思います。よろしくお願いします。
はい。まず30年ぶりの0.75% ということですが、特に特別の意味はないというふうに思っております。というのも、これまで 0.5% がしばらく上限になっていたわけですが、その頃と比べるとインフレ率が格段に高くなっていまして、環境が大きく違うということかなと思っています。ただし、そうは言っても0.75% が30年ぶりということは事実でございますので、どういう影響があるかは注視して見ていきたいと思います。それから、0.75 になっても実質金利は極めて低いということの意味ですけれども、一つにはきちんと特定は難しいと申し上げた中立金利ですが、その推計値のある種加減にはまだ少し距離があるということが一つ、言えるかと思います。それから先ほど申し上げたように、中立金利がどれくらいか、あるいは中立金利と、現実の金利の差、これを推し量っていくに際して、金利を調整した時の経済物価あるいは金融情勢の反応を見ながらやっていきたいというふうに申し上げました。すでにここまでに、マイナス金利から、ゼロ金利に移行するところを含めまして何回か金利を上げてきております。で、それに伴って、の経済物価あるいは金融環境の変化を、改めて振り返ってみますと、それによって利上げによって、そういうところにものすごい、強い引き締め効果が出たというわけでもないというふうにも考えられます。そうした点を総合的に判断しますと、まだ実質金利は、低い、極めて低いところにあるというふうに考えた次第です。
はい、朝日新聞土井さんお願いします。
朝日新聞の土井です。よろしくお願いします。私から2問お伺いします。今回の利上げが、住宅ローンや企業の借り入れなど、経済に与える影響について改めて、お伺いします。で、一方でですね、経済をサポートするということですから、そうすると円安の修正も含めて物価を抑制する効果というか、その部分はかなり限定的ということなのでしょうか。その点も合わせてお願いします。もう一問、次、先ほどの中立金利の話にちょっと戻るんですけども、次利上げがあると政策金利は 1% ということになります。そうすると日銀が推計する下限に、当たっている可能性があると思いますが、この水準でも、現時点でも、この水準に上がったとしても緩和的であろうというふうに見ていらっしゃるのか、それとも、経済物価の反応を見ながらでないとそこは判断できないのか、その点もお伺いします。以上です。
まず0.5から0.75に上げた場合の影響ということですけれども、単純に緩和的な状況はベタって続いているということではなくて、緩和の度合いを少し弱めているという操作をしているということでございます。したがいまして、経済に対するサポート。
Okay, so while trying to fix this whole titling process with my live stream, I missed a question here on, I think he was pressed on when and if they were to expect another rate hike. And his answer here is, let me go back a moment. But if there is another rate hike, the policy will be 1%. So essentially, if they were to bump the rate up again, it'd be essentially 25 basis points that they'd be looking to do, looking to increase the rate by. So that would put it up to 1%, which would be unprecedented for Japan. So that's what he answered there. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much they're pretty much going in the direction of damage control for their economy because they don't want to weaken their yen. But again, being Japan, they're being careful. So thank you very much. I'd like to ask 2 questions. Is that how you look at it? Price reactions regarding the impact. Doesn't mean this the situation is simply continuing, but rather it does not mean the situation is simply continuing, but rather the degree of easing has been slightly weakened. So essentially they're tightening rather than easing. Okay, proceed. Ueda, let's go.
は、続くと思いますし、資産市場、市場にそれなりの影響はあるかとは思っております。でその上で経済への影響でございますが、これはどういう例えばゾーンの金利で借り入れをしているかということによってそこそこ異なる影響が出てくるということだと思います。借り入れ主体で見れば短中期のゾーンはまだ実質金利が低いところですが、長期以降はそこそこ上がっていますので、長期の貸し出しの金利あるいは固定金利の住宅ローンの長いところ、そこには多少の影響がこれから出てくるということだと思います。ただそれも、企業収益が非常に好調であるとか、賃金が伸びているとか、そういうこととの相対で判断すべきというふうに思います。それから 1% にこの先もしなったとしたら、そこでも、緩和的な状況と言えるかどうかというご質問だったと思いますが、これはご指摘があったようにもちろん中立金利の推計はもっとシャープにできればそれはそれに越したことはないわけですが、そう簡単ではないと思っておりますので、そっちはそっちで続けつつも、基本的には金利を 0.75 に上げた時の今後の、経済金融環境物価の反応をよく見て、判断するということになるかと思います。
はい、ブルーバーグニュース伊藤さんお願いします。
I think the decision will be made by carefully looking at the reaction of the economy, financial environment, and prices. So pretty much the same kind of was it hawkish or whatever. They're taking their time in making the decision, as opposed to being completely reactive. They're observing the economy to see how that interest rate hike or interest rate, I don't think it's, well, yeah, they hiked it. So that interest rate hike would affect those 3 factors: the economy, financial environment, which is all the same, and prices. So yeah, a lot of caution with the speech, or at least the answers that he's giving.
ブルームバーグ伊藤です。よろしくお願いします。 先ほど経済の点検要因について貸し出し動向を挙げられましたけども、政策金利を引き上げてからですね、短期プライムレートとか住宅ローンとか実際の金利配下かなりちょっとタイムラグがあると思うんですけども、やはりそういったですね金利貸し出し動向がちょっとどうか変調をきたすまでですね、ある程度見極める必要性というのが今後の段階ではあると、政策判断についてはお考えなのかというのが1点です。でもう1点がですね最近の円安なんですけれども、この円安に伴うエネルギー価格とか食料品価格とか、その辺の物価上振れリスク、また物価の基調に与える影響について、今回の利上げではどの程度勘案したのか、その2点お願いいたします。
はい、利上げの経済の影響を見る際に、金融環境に与えている影響を見たいと申し上げて、当然その中には貸し出しの動きも入ってくると思います。で、貸し出し自体はすぐに動くか動かないかといえば、限界的なところは
His job is plainly to give the same answer over and over again in different ways. So that's essentially the stance he's going to continue repeating throughout this entire press conference. And it's about observation. I want to look at the impact of financial environment, and naturally, I think it includes the movement of lending. Yeah, so lending is the one item that we're all paying attention to, especially when it comes to that carry trade. So obviously, I should give him the floor to say what he's going to say, but just know that you're going to see that repeated all through this entire conference.
リスポンスが早いところもあるかと思いますが、そう簡単にゆっくり動かないというか、ゆっくり動いていく面はあるかと思います。ただそれでも月次単位でデータが入ってきますし、その手前、あるいはそれと同時にいろいろなサーベイ調査で、金融機関の貸し出し態度とか、企業から見た資金のアベラビリティとか、あるいはややずれますけれども、企業の倒産動向とか、さまざまな高頻度のデータが金融環境周りで、手に入ります。
He's talking about something very, you can hear that change in his tonality. He's talking about something heavy here. He's talking about what? Bankruptcy trends. And when it comes from a cultural perspective, Japan, this kind of stuff isn't necessarily taken lightly. The inability to, for instance, service your debts or, conduct business relatively, I should say, profitably or honorably almost. It's a cultural thing. So if you notice that tonality change, it's likely because he's talking about something that could be very culturally negative for, I guess, society and directly Japanese society. And if you think about it, that's very empathetic and shows that human element. So this is some live psychological analysis on what he just delivered. I didn't even, fully follow what he was saying. I just heard that it was negative. Clearly, let's just keep going though.
それと金融を見て、金融環境にどういう影響を与えているかということはチェックしていきたいと思います。それから為替レートに関する考慮は今回の決定でどういう影響を与えたかということですけれども、これは詳しくは主な意見をご覧いただきたいと思いますけれども、複数の委員が最近の円安が輸入価格あるいはそれが転嫁されて国内価格に上向きの影響を与えている、あるいはこれから与えていく可能性がある、そして場合によっては基調物価にも影響するかもしれない、そこも見ていかないといけないということを指摘されたことは申し上げておきます。
はい、日銀の多田さんお願いします。
It's clearly tough for this guy to deliver this.
すみません、日銀の多田です。よろしくお願いします。大きく2点伺います。まず中立金利に向けた段階的な利上げスタンスについて伺います。日銀が公表した複数の中立金利の推計モデルの値ですが、こういうものをまずなぜ幅のあるものを公表したのか、 対話のツールとして公表したのか、その点を伺えればと思います。であとこのような値がいくつかある場合、普通は上下の極端な数字を、弾いて残りの値を鳴らしたりとか中央値を取ったりとかして見るとは思うんですけれども、政策の運営の念頭に置くようなイメージもあるんですが、現状、中立金利の、位置づけ、総裁の頭の中にある位置づけっていうところ、もう少しクリアに、対話として、表現できないものか、その点を伺いたいと思います。あともう一点がですね、政府と日銀の意思疎通について、今日は午前の会見で片山大臣にお聞きしますと、大臣が、旧財務省と大蔵省ですかね、いた時に総裁がいらしたこともあった後、財務大臣と日銀総裁という関係以上に、非常に意思疎通がいいとおっしゃっていました。で総裁はどう思われてますかっていうところで、政府と日銀のこの役割分担、ポリシーミックスの観点からその観点を伺えればと思います。
はい、まず中立金利の推計のところですけれども、これはうまくいくかどうかは別にして、中立金利という概念自体は金融政策の、枠組みを考えていく際に非常に重要な概念ですし、
Okay, hold on. The bulk of what he's asking about is a little outside of the Japanese scope. So he's branched it out to Taiwan. And if I'm to give me a second to actually try and decipher, well, just translate what he just said here. Currently the position of neutral interest rates, the position in mind, investigation. I'm behind here. Apparently there's an investigation that I missed about. Like what? What I asked. Investigation, maybe analysis. Is a different, maybe interchangeable words. I don't know. Okay, I didn't follow that, so let's just play it off and continue listening again.
分かるものならちゃんと分かってそれをもとに政策をやった方がいいということは確かだと思います。で、なぜ推計してその結果を公表したかということですけれども、それは外国でも、同じような問題意識から中立金利の推計はこれまでたくさんなされていますし、ある程度はさまざまな中央銀行はそれを参考にしているということもありますので、私どももさまざまな方法で推計し、とりあえず結果を公表してきたということであります。その上で、先ほども申し上げたように、現状では非常に幅のある推計結果となっているということですし。
I think I'm fully understanding that this translator is not word for word. It might be interchanging some concepts, or it might be assuming some words are others. It's like mistranslating because some of these words don't make sense. But I think it's about probably 80% correct. I guess we'll just read between the lines. We're not idiots, right? We are intelligent people. We can try to read between the lines here.
特にそのうちのここが非常にもっともらしいということが言える段階ではないので、そのまま出したこう絞ったものは出さずに、そのまま推移しております。ただ今後はもちろん、必要に応じてあるいは機会があれば再推計とかを試みたいと思いますし、さらにそれでも再推計したとしてもすぐに範囲が縮まるとも私も思えないですけれども、それに加えてさまざまな推計にはそれぞれの特性がありますので、どういう方法を使っているかというのは違いますので、その中で現状にどちらかといえばフィットした推計方法かどうかというような点ももっと注意して見ていきたいなというふうに思っております。ただそれでもこうした統計的作業だけで絞りきれるかというとそうではないということは最初に申し上げた通りで、金利調整に対する経済の反応を見ながら中立金利についても類推していくしかないなというふうには思っております。 それから、政府との意思疎通についてのご質問ですが、ご指摘のように、もちろん片山財務大臣とはこの間、密接に良い意思疎通ができていると思いますし、それを含めまして、政府のさまざまな方々と、私だけでなくて、私どものさまざまなレベルで、意思疎通を図ってきております。今後も一段の努力を、重ねたいと思います。
マーケットニュース、井上さん、お願いします。
すみません、マーケットニュースの井上と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。12月の会合に向けて、11月には審議員の方々、12月には総裁が名古屋で講演されて、結構というか、相当な踏み込んだ発言があったかと思うんですけど、それによって市場も、マスコミも結構助かったと思うんですけども、それは昨年の7月のその教訓が影響したのか、その辺が1点目と、それから日本銀行としては政策判断は経済物価動向を見て決められるということですけれども、市場から言わせるとその基調インフレ率がなかなか分かりづらい中で、それ見てても政策の運営がなかなか難しいと。そうするとやっぱり経済指標ではなく審議員総裁方々のコメントしか注目してないような傾向が強いかと思うんですけども、その辺を総裁どういうふうにお考えかできればお伺いしたいんですけど、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、まさに最後におっしゃったような、
Okay. Give me a second here.
懸念
This guy just asked a very important question, and Okay, so they had an important lesson to learn from July of last year. The Bank of Japan says the policy decisions are made by looking at economic and price trends, which is what I said at the beginning. They're going to keep repeating that. From the perspective of the market, it is difficult to understand the underlying trend of inflation. It's always going to be up. I think there's a strong tendency to only pay attention to people's comments. But I would like to hear your thoughts on this in detail. So he wants him to expand on the concept of inflation and how these interest rate hikes or adjustments in general are affecting inflation. Guys, quick rule here. If rates are increased, typically that attracts or at least that triggers the printing of more money. The economy gets stimulated. Japan is looking to undo or at least correct a little bit of the falling knife that is the Japanese yen right now. So they're increasing rates a little bit incrementally. I'd like to say pretty conservatively compared to what they could do, to try and stop that bleeding or to slow that fall of the knife. The knife is going to fall regardless. Now, say they drop this thing by exactly a whole percentage point, that would be detrimental for the entire globe. Everybody that has borrowed money from the Bank of Japan, that plans to borrow money from the Bank of Japan, would be in a very, very tough position. And best believe there are a lot of other governments that are on the line here. Institutions with, we're talking a tune of about $20 trillion, right? So give or take, possibly more, especially with the rest of the world dropping its rates. I don't know. It's not a good look. So essentially, that is a very good question. This reporter or this questioner, whoever's in the crowd asked this question about how the increase or the hike in rates that they've just actually embarked on after 30 years, or the highest in 30 years that it's ever been, really, the highest it's ever been in 30 years. How is that going to affect inflation? No one will actually know. So he's probably going to say he's going to observe the market and economic environment, the financial environment, and prices. So that's my take. I'm assuming that's what he'll say. We'll see if I'm right or not.
が一部にあるということもありまして、私どもとしては なるべく日頃から金融政策の基本的な考え方を詳しくご説明してご理解いただくということに、不十分であるかもしれないですけど努めてきております。で、現在の基本的な考え方はヘッドラインのインフレ率というよりは基調的な物価を重視して政策運営を決めていくということですし、基調的物価の動きを見る際にはこれもいろいろな指標とかあって難しいですけれども、基本は賃金と物価がともに緩やかに上昇するというメカニズムが続くかどうか、どの程度のレベルで続くかというところになりますので、そこを確認しつつ、その一つのピースである賃金で、ここ前回の会合から足元、そしてここ数ヶ月を見た場合には、来年の春闘の動きが大事になるということで、その初動のモメンタムを確認したいということを足元では申し上げてきたところであります。で、それは前回の記者会見でも申し上げましたし、必ずしも十分に理解されたかどうか不安な面もありましたので、名古屋の講演でもう一度詳しくご説明したというところでございます。
All right, before the next question comes in, let's see if I can just narrow this down. Yeah, he's pretty much just saying the basic thing is whether the mechanism of gradually increasing wages and so on continue, whether it will continue. I don't know what's he saying. What are you saying? I've been saying that I would like to confirm some moment because next year's spring labor movement will be important next year. So he's essentially he's in an observation holding pattern at this point. I mentioned in a previous press conference some concerns about whether it was fully understood. So I explained it in detail again. So he's saying that he's going to stick to his same sentiment from previous answers that he's given in the past to a similar question. They're in a holding pattern. They're essentially trying to figure out whether all this would negatively affect wage increases, or how rather would affect it. This is also difficult because, yeah, it's a difficult question. You can't actually answer that. So he just got punted an impossible question live on television. He's doing his best to refer to my previous answers, sir. That's essentially what he's saying.
はい、時事通信赤野さんお願いします。
すみません、時事通信の赤間と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。ですね、来年の物価動向について伺いたいんですけれども、来年食料価格の上昇が予想いたしまして、消費者物価指数の上昇率は 2% を下回る場面もあるという。
Hold on, guys. I'm just ruining my stream.
Sounds like a little Ohio, right? Okay, please repeat. Ohio.
Okay, so funny thing for you guys, I tried finding out whether this stream, or at least this translator, would do a good job of actually translating Japanese before I started the stream, just some pure R&D. Clearly I didn't end or close that window, and because I have like 1,000 windows on my screen right now, I don't know where it's playing from, so just give me a second. Give me exactly, I would say, hopefully 10 more seconds to get this done, as you see. Oh, she's still playing. Damn, lady. Okay. I think we're good. All right, back to the actual stream itself.
ふうに予測をされております。で、そこで確認なんですけれども、ヘッドラインの物価が大きく下がっているような状況であっても、例えば基調的物価の状況であるとか、経済情勢でありますとか、そういったもの次第では利上げを継続するということはあり得るというふうに、それことは十分に可能であるというふうにお考えでしょうか。まずこれが1点です。
Okay, tell you what, I'm just going to back this up a few, probably 30 seconds or so. because we got rudely interrupted by my R&D stream, or at least R&D video I had playing. Let's start that again. Let's go back to the question.
が共に緩やかに上昇するというメカニズムが続くかどうか、どの程度のレベルで続くかというところになりますので、そこを確認しつつ、その一つのピースである賃金で、ここ前回の会合から足元、そしてここ数ヶ月を見た場合には、来年の春闘の動きが大事になるということで、その初動のモメンタムを確認したいということを足元では申し上げてきたところであります。でそれは前回の記者会見でも申し上げましたし、必ずしも十分に理解されたかどうか不安な面もありましたので、名古屋の講演でもう一度詳しくご説明したというところでございます。
はい、時事通信赤本お願いします。
すみません、時事通信の赤間と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。ですね、来年の、物価動向について伺いたいんですけれども、来年食料価格の上昇が一服いたしまして、消費者物価指数の上昇率は 2% を下回る場面もあるというふうに予測をされております。でそこで確認なんですけれども、ヘッドラインの物価が大きく下がっているような状況であっても、例えば基調的物価の状況であるとか、経済情勢でありますとか、そういったもの次第では利上げを継続するということはあり得るというふうに、それことは十分に可能であるというふうにお考えでしょうか。まずこれが1点です。でもう1点がですね、長期金利が先ほど19年7ヶ月ぶりに 2% を超えております。で今後も日銀の利上げを継続するとの見方ですとか、あるいは財政悪化の懸念というのが背景にあると思われます。で総裁はこの市場動向をですね、どのようにご覧になっておられますでしょうか。また急激に金利が上昇した場合、日銀としてどのように対応されるかという、その改めてお考えを伺えますでしょうか。お願いいたします。
はい、まず来年の物価動向ですけれども、おっしゃるように、私どもとしては特に食料品の、インフレ率としては低下していく、見ていますので、それに政府の物価対策も加わりまして、
Okay, let's not play around here. The question was, do you think that it is entirely possible that the interest rate will continue to rise, such as a rate increase in the consumer price index, and in some cases falling below 2%, depending on such factors? Do you think it is entirely possible to continue raising rates? So he's trying to essentially determine the appetite of this particular body increasing interest rates over time, which is a good question. I'm pretty sure the rest of the world is actually trying to find that out as well. Also, if there is a rise, how would the Bank of Japan and cities respond? What other question did he ask here? Okay, I think that's been asked in some way already. Okay, so he's just answering. We're seeing some infrastructure rate decline in terms of inflation. Okay, well, let's let him continue. I'll see if I can back it up a few seconds, not too much. There we go.
インフレ率としては低下していく、見ていますので、それに政府の物価対策も加わりまして、ヘッドラインのインフレ率は来年前半には大きく低下し 2% を下回るというふうに見ています。で、その下での、若干政策運営的な話ですけれども、繰り返しになりますが、政策としては、金融政策としては、ヘッドラインのインフレの動きよりは、基調的な物価上昇率がどうなっていくかというところを見ていますので、それがどうなるか展望してみますと、ヘッドラインのように下がってという動きにはならずに、賃金、そして賃金が物価にどう影響していくかというところで大きく左右されていくというふうに見ています。で申し上げましたように、来春闘に向けての初動のモメンタムはまあまあですので、 賃金が持っているように上がれば基調的物価上昇率が少なくとも下がっていくということはないというふうに見ていますし、賃金が、見通し通りに上がっていくという中でそれが物価にも、波及していくという動きが継続していくということが、連続的に少しずつ確認していくわけですけれども、続けば適切なタイミングで利上げが見えてくるということは十分あり得るかなというふうに思っております。
How's that accurate, though?
それから、長期金利について一般的にどう見ているかというご質問だったと思いますが、長期金利の、足元短期的な動きについては具体的なコメントは避けたいと思いますし、それは市場で形成されることが基本でございます。市場の、経済物価見通し、あるいはそのベースになります、金融政策に対する見方、あるいは財政政策に対する見方、海外の長期金利、これらを反映して変動するものだというふうに思っております。しっかり見ていきたいと思います。それから、
I'll be honest, I feel like this guy is scared for his life. The way he's answering these questions, I don't know. First and foremost, I don't know who had a gun to his head to, increase the rates in the first place, but apparently they had to do it today. But he is someone tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe you have some psychological experts with respect to body language, but he sounds like he is scared for his life. Maybe it's just an elderly thing because he is obviously an elderly guy, but he's like, he doesn't want to make any comments on this. Like, yeah, you're supposed to be prudent with this kind of an answer, but regardless, man, there are a lot of people that could literally hate this guy just for doing the bank's bidding. He's just delivering a message, and look at how, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
そうした通常の動きとは、異なるような、例外的な動きをした場合にというのが後半のご質問だったと思いますが、これは従来から申し上げている通り、機動的に場合によってはオペを実施するということでございます。
はい、NHK の吉田さんお願いします。
NHK の吉田と申します。よろしくお願いします。先ほど円安が物価上振れの要因という指摘があったというお話ありましたけれども、今の為替水準を今回の判断材料に加味したのかというところが1点です。もう1点は国内経済へのご認識についてなんですけれども、総裁は日本経済についてインフレの状態にあるというご発言何度かされていると思いますが、今の経済情勢についてはインフレが長期化していると、そういうご認識でいらっしゃるのかどうか教えてください。
Okay, let's see what other way they could ask this question. So this guy just said, nice to meet you. You mentioned earlier that a weaker yen was a factor in upward movement. We touched that at the beginning of the stream here. They essentially are trying to slow down the fall of the yen. I mean, the yen's been the pretty much the global escort when it comes to global currencies. Everybody's been using it to prop up their own bags forever. 30 years of just amazing conditions for lending. It's been, I mean, that is like it's a no-brainer for anybody who has a risk appetite enough to take on tens of millions of dollars or whatever in debt. Essentially nearly 0%, and I don't know if I read correctly, but negative rates. Like the Bank of Japan was borderline paying people, or at least at some point. It costs people nothing to borrow from this bank, right? So if you've been stimulating pretty much everybody's economy for the longest time, yes, your streets are clean. Yes, you have a lot of business coming out, and there's a lot of positives that could come from stimulating the market, but your currency is what's going to suffer. And being the respectful people that Japanese are, culturally at least, they definitely, being nice gets you last, I'm assuming. Like if they were harsher from the very beginning, obviously they wouldn't have as much investment in their economy, or at least they wouldn't have printed that. They wouldn't have printed nearly as much yen as they did. But yeah, this question is asking, what I'm assuming it says what point or 1 point at 1 point the current exchange rate. 1 point is whether the current exchange rate level was taken into consideration in this decision. The other point is about your understanding of the domestic economy. For more details, please refer to your statements that the Japanese economy is in a state of inflation. No, fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. You print that much for that long, inflation is your best friend. But yeah, again, let's see how Ueda-sama does his gymnastics in this answer here.
為替レートと物価の関係につきましては、足元、円安で輸入価格が大幅に上昇して、それが国内価格にものすごい跳ねて、ヘッドラインインフレがものすごい上がっているというコメントがあったというわけではなくて、しかし、ここまでの円安が今後そういう動きを引き起こしていくリスク、それには留意が必要だというコメントがあったということでございます。それから、インフレ、日本経済はインフレの状態にあるかどうかというご質問だと思いますが、もちろんヘッドラインのインフレ率も
Okay, before I get too carried away here, let's see what part of what kind of answer he gave. The depreciation of the yen caused import prices to rise significantly, and this had a huge impact on domestic science. I don't think that's a direct translation, but domestic economy. Sure, there were no headlines. Sure, but there was a comment. There was a risk that something new would cause such a movement in the future. And we needed to be careful. Again, they're prudent, so obviously the only thing to do now is manage the hemorrhaging that the yen is actually experiencing right now. I think your question is whether Japan's economic infrastructure is in good condition. But of course, sure. Okay, let's go.
私どもが重視しています基調的物価上昇率もここ数年ゼロを超えていることは確かであると思います。そういう意味ではインフレの状態であるということだと思います。ただその中で私どもとしては 2% のところに持続的安定的にインフレ率を収束させるということを目指して金融政策を運営しているということでございます。
はい、ロイター通信木原さんお願いします。
On the top end of that answer here, I believe the previous price increase has exceeded zero. Excuse me. I believe the previous rate increase, maybe price increase rate. Sure, has exceeded zero past few years, but we are conducting monetary policy that aims to converge the inflation rate by 2% to 2%. Yeah, so they're sticking to the same number that the rest of the world. Okay, that's fine. Why not? It is a central bank after all. Might as well do what central banks do and speak the same language, just translated to Japanese. Okay.
ロイター通信の木原です。2問やや関連してるんですがお願いします。1点目は声明文ではアメリカの関税の影響が当初見ていたよりも小さい、また基調的な物価上昇率、一旦伸び悩むというよりは徐々に高まっていくということで、10月の会合時点よりやや物価経済 前向きに判断しているのかなと思います。こうした判断を経て、今回利上げしたということであると思うんですが、こうした前向きな見方が。
Okay, so this lady's from Reuters, Japan. Is that what it is? Is this related, please? First point is that the impact of U.S. inflation is well smaller than we expected from investment. Okay, U.S. infection. Okay, so essentially the U.S. infection, talking about the factor of U.S. And the negative, I guess, the negative debt. Sure, it's like, what do they call? It's like almost synonymous with getting a flu. There's a certain word. Let me know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, anyway, also the underlying trend in price increases is likely to rise gradually rather than stagnate. Yeah. Okay. Positive outlook. Okay, she's not done. So let's see.
見られたということは、今後も複数回の利上げが視野に入っているということでいいのか、今回の景気の判断が今後の利上げにどう影響、どういうインプリケーションを持つのかっていうのが1点目の質問です。で、2点目はこの中立金利と政策金利の距離なんですが、名古屋で記者会見では、利上げした際にもう少しその距離について。
This translator is funny. It's saying, how does a pancake's decision? It's really supposed to be saying, well, how does a bank's decision affect? It says pancakes. Yeah. Don't believe half of what you see. You just have to think and read between the lines here. The translator is trying his best. I'll give it that. It's better than not knowing anything at all. But yeah, I'm not out to lunch when I can't necessarily follow some sentence structure here. All right, go on, Miss Reuters.
はっきりと明示しますと言っていただいたんですけれども、実際は幅がある中立金利の概念の中でその距離は難しいと思うんですが、先ほど下限からは少し距離があるとおっしゃったので、そこがその距離という今の政策金利と中実金利との距離というそういう明示されたご判断ということなのか、今後の利上げを考える上で、この距離について何かもう少しヒントが得られればと思うんですが、そこはいかがでしょうか。
はい。
Okay, so she just asked a lot, but let's just break it down one more time. So, however, in reality, there is a range. I think it is difficult to determine the distance or the extent within the concept of neutral interest rates. So essentially, she's probably saying that it's difficult to determine to which extent this rate decision would affect what? A bunch of other things here. But you mentioned earlier that there is a slight distance from the moderation. Okay. So that is a distance from the current policy interest rate. Anyway, the question is that an explicit judgment? Is that a definite explicit judgment? Is that yeah, okay. Is that when thinking about future sales, future rates, I think is rates. I would like to get some hints about this distance. So essentially what she's trying to get at is how far off will you guys think of increasing rates? Are you guys thinking of going further in terms of your decision-making process for this range in decision-making for rate increases that you are making? Like, are you guys close or are you far? I'm assuming that that's what this translator is trying to get at me, or at least determine, because I mean pancakes ain't it. Like, she did not say pancakes, she said bank. And distance, maybe a direct translation is the same word, but I guess we'll have to find out. Let's see what his answer is, and then see if we can read between the lines. Oh shoot, I hope I didn't ruin that. Okay, I think we're good.
おっしゃるようにインフレ率についても成長率についても、 下振れリスクが低下したということが今回、まずそれが見通しが実現する角度が上昇して、そして利上げの判断につながったということでございます。それではその上でさらに先の、金利のパスについて今回、そういう見方の変化を、したことがインプリケーションを持つのかというご質問だったと思いますが、それはもうあくまで、これから、次の会合あるいはその次々の会合にかけて入ってくる、情報データ次第であるというふうに言わざるを得ないかなと思います。それから、
Okay, so he just answered the first part of that that question. Okay, let's just go back, keeping a very conservative and unemotional approach here. First of all, the fact that risk at home has decreased has led to an increase in the probability of realizing that lovely thing. I'm assuming he's talking about a sweet spot of neutral rates, which has led to a decision in interest rate increases. With that in mind, regarding the future path of interest rates, I think you were asking whether this change in perspective has any implications. This part is funny because it says, I think I have to say that it's a devil, or it's a bad thing, or I don't know, because the initial translation said, I'm going to have conversations with the devil. I don't know. I have to read that back again. It's a devil and depends on what information comes out of the next conversation or the next meeting, the next discussion that they have internally, I'm assuming. I don't know. He's talking about death now. Yeah, I think the translator is I think the translator is taking a break. Let's just say that. Let's just give it a break. I think I've given enough of a break here, but he's definitely asking this section here, or he's answering this section here, which has led to the decision in interest rate increase, or sorry, increase. With that in mind, regarding the future path, I'm assuming, I don't know, it's let's just see if he answers it.
中立金利と現実の金利についての距離感についてもう少し情報が何かないかというご質問だったと思いますけれども、これは先ほどの方のご質問に対する答えを繰り返すことにならざるを得ないと思いますけれども、不十分ではあるけれども推計された中立金利の下限よりもまだ少し下にあるというのは弱い一つのエビデンスであるかと思いますし、それから申し上げたようにこれまでやってきた利上げの影響を見たときにものすごい金融緩和度合いが急速に引き締まっている、縮まっているというようなエビデンスはないように見えるというあたりでございます。
There's no evidence. There's no evidence of what? Sorry, let's see what he said. Nothing to do with vinegar. I believe your question was asking if there was any information available, but I think I have to repeat the answer to your earlier question. Although it is insufficient, I think it is one weak piece of evidence. I think it is one weak piece of evidence that the estimated neutral rate, interest rate, is still slightly below the lower bound. Okay, let's just put a question mark there. Also, as I said, when we look at the effects of the interest rate hikes that have occurred so far, there does not seem to be any evidence that the degree of monetary easing is rapidly tightening or shrinking. I don't know that that's an accurate translation, but don't know what to make of that. But yeah, we'll just keep watching. I'm assuming he's trying to say that, again, there's no evidence that the hikes or the degree of monetary easing Well, definitely if you're increasing rates, you're definitely not going to get as much investment as if rates were at zero. So, Ueda-sama, let's see what else you managed to maneuver here. I mean, I feel very sorry for this guy just watching him. He's not. He's definitely a respected member of his community or his country, obviously, to hold this position, unlike the Fed. But yeah, they have a very, very high or steep hill to climb.
共同通信の飯田さん、お願いします。
こちらです。共同通信の飯田です。2問お伺いします。一つは今後、見通しの実現にあたっての、懸念材料についてお伺いします。いろいろご指摘があったんですけど、アメリカ経済やアメリカの関税政策の影響、それ以外に例えば中国も今景気の悪化懸念進んでるんじゃないかと言われてますが、そういった、他の要因がないかどうか、あと、今回の利上げの判断の、材料の一つになった、賃上げですね、これについても例えば中小企業ですとか、業種ごとによっては例えばちょっと賃上げが難しいんじゃないかというような考え方もあるかと思うんですけども、そういった懸念材料についてもう少し情報いただければと思います。それが1点です。もう1点は長期金利に関連してなんですが、日銀が今進めている国債買い入れの減額ですね。このペースが今のペースが例えばこの長期金利の上昇に何か影響を与えているのではないかとか、見直すお考えがないかとか、そういったことについて教えてください。よろしくお願いします。
That's a lot he just said, but let's dive in. What did he say? He mentioned the American economy somewhere there. Let me see if I could just expand the view here. We are learning on the go, guys. Live streaming a translation isn't as easy as it seems. But hey, appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Yes, I'm going to plug this. Follow, subscribe. There's tons more of this coming. I have the tools now, so I feel, the more I do this, I'll be more comfortable. But going on to the question that this guy just asked, where are you, sir? I would like, where's that U.S. economy line? Did I miss it? Yeah. I guess I lost it in translation. Anyway. Receive some information regarding regarding concerns. That one point. The other point is what? The Bank of Japan is currently proceeding with reduction of international conference fees. Please let me know if you have any thoughts on reconsidering whether the current pace conference fees. I don't know whether that's correct. The current pace is what is having an effect on the extension of interest rates. For example, thank you. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Am I reading this wrong? No, yeah, I'm just going to have to back that up because I did not understand a thing he said.
やってきた利上げの影響を見たときに、ものすごい金融緩和度合いが急速に引き締まっている見えるという。
では例えばちょっと賃上げが難しいんじゃないかというような考え方もあるかと思うんですけども、そういった懸念材料についてもう少し情報いただければと思います。それが1点です。もう1点は長期金利に関連してなんですが、日銀が今進めている国債買い入れの減額ですね。このペースが今のペースが例えばこの長期金利の上昇に何か影響を与えているのではないかとか、見直すお考えがないかとか、そういったことについて教えてください。よろしくお願いします。
はい、今後見通したまずリスクとしてはどういうものをということですが。もちろん引き続き、関税政策 の米国経済あるいは世界経済に与える影響についてはリスク要素として見ています。ただ一時に比べますとリスクの度合いは低下したと見ています。それでも警戒はしていかないといけない。つまり今のところ関税の影響をアメリカの特に企業部門が吸収しているというところがかなりあるかと思いますが、これがもう少し消費者の方に転嫁されていく可能性がそこそこある。そうなっていった場合にアメリカの消費とか私どもから見れば輸出に影響があるかどうかというあたりは十分見ていかないといけないと思いますし、それから AI 周りの好調さがどれくらい持続するかというのも論点かと思います。で、
Okay, first part of the question he's answering here. Excuse me. So I think some people think that when you look at the effects, it looks like the degree of monetary easing is tightening rapidly. Yeah, well, guys, the Japanese yen is no longer going to be as it's definitely, put a little bit of a taste in people's mouths. That is a little foul now with their increase, but okay. What are the risks here? Of course, we continue to look at the impact of full-scale production on the U.S. economy. Sure, U.S. economy and global economy as a risk factor, but we do see it as a risk, as a reduced risk. Wow, compared to I don't know what he means by 1 o'clock. But anyway, he's trying to say essentially they are trying to be cautious. I think there are a lot of places where the influence of the current thinking is being absorbed by corporate sector. Influence of the current thinking. So essentially, America is doing a great marketing job. But there's a possibility that this is absorbed a little more by consumers. So on a corporate side, America is influencing a lot of the economy. If that happens, I think we have to take a close look at whether there will be impact on American consumption from our perspective. Exports also, I think. The point of contention is how long the positive trend in AI field will last. That is a good point, Mr. Ueda. Yeah, is there a bubble? And from the consumer perspective, will their decision here or the overall consumption trend, I think globally is worth considering, but obviously America is the largest consumer market. Will that be affected here? I think he's trying to say, America's done a good job of convincing people that spending is a good thing, and consumption has definitely seen an uptick. And now, obviously, the hottest horse in the stable, sure, is AI. How long is that going to last as a trend? Is that a bubble? I guess he might tread carefully here because he might be messing with some investments. We'll find out. I mean, one can already say that let's see how this has been affected, how this has affected the actual crypto market. Obviously, his speech happened within the past 45 minutes, and I'm the one who's taking time to break this down based on what I'm translating. But let's take a look at what has happened to the market. The market has not done anything negative. It has actually slowly climbed. I'm looking at the crypto market right now. I guess you guys can't see it, but let's take a look here. Coin market cap. Yeah, we're talking, let me just be serious here. Okay. Yeah, since this conversation has started, let's look at Bitcoin because why not look at Bitcoin? It's the hottest and people have been trading this thing lovely. Look at that. Okay, well, obviously, since the past 45, we're looking at some there's a lot of buying activity happening right now. So apparently we're buying, guys. We're back to bullish. What's the trend right now for? Oh wow, we're at 21 for the fear and greed. The feed and greed, guys. The feed and greed. Okay. All right. Cool. Sorry, I digress. This is also a page. We definitely take a look at crypto as well here. Obviously, it's a contemporary market, but we also look at gold and silver. So let's see if that ties in anything. He's talked about AI now. Let's see how far he'll go with this whole analysis on trends.
僕についても足元、や減速の傾向が、はっきりしていますが、ここもリスクとして見ています。ただある程度のところまでいけば、何らかの政策対応が取られるというふうに見ていますので、大変なことになってしまうというふうには見ていないです。それから日本の中小企業周りについてはもちろん、金利が上がっていく、あるいは、インフレで賃金も上げて一緒に賃金も上げていかないといけないという中でついてこれるかどうかというような観点からもちろん常に注意して見ております。それから長期金利、と日銀の買いオペないし日銀が持っている国債残高との関係の周りの話に関するご質問だったと思いますが、前から申し上げておりますようにストック効果、つまり、私どもが依然としてやや減ったとはいえ。
Seems like I might have to stop this translator to catch up a little bit. What the hell are you translating, buddy? I think your question was about the relationship between the two. Interest rate rising or inflation causing wages to rise or wages to rise at the same time, simultaneously, probably is what that is. Okay.
大量の国債を持つことが、金利を、押し下げているという効果は相応に働いているかと思います。ただ将来、オペがどういうふうになっていくか、それに伴って国債残高がどれくらい減っていくかというパスもかなり明らかにしていますので、将来減っていくというところまでマーケットは予想して、ある程度ストック効果が少し、小さくなっているという面はあるかもしれません。いずれにせよ今後買いオペ、それから私どもの国債保有残高のパスがどうなっていくかということについては、定例的には来年の初夏にもう一度点検する予定ですし、本当に必要があれば、決定会合で臨時にまた点検するということも、可能性としてはあり得ます。
幹事社から失礼いたします。まもなく会見時間の45分となります。まだ質問がある方は挙手をお願いできますでしょうか。
Okay, so let's just go back to the question that he just answered. Then the question is between the two. Okay, sorry, it says, who are you? I don't know if that's actually the case, what he stated, but okay, let's get serious here. I think that the effect of holding a large amount of international stocks is pushing down the interest rates, is working. Okay, the path of how opera will be in the future. Opera. What is opera? Can someone translate what opera means in Japanese? And how much the international balance will decrease accordingly has been made quite clear. So the market may be predicting, well, it definitely predicted today, predicting that it will decrease in the future. Are we talking about inflation or are we talking about the interest rate? Which one? Well, it talks about interest rates here. And there may be famous cases of where the stock effect is getting smaller. So essentially they're okay. International stocks pushing. Okay, stock is getting smaller. We plan to inspect or at least observe it again on a regular basis in early summer of next year. So again, I said this at the beginning, they're going to be reviewing, they're going to be observing, they're going to take the cautious, slow-footed approach to just being conservative with respect to what kinds of effects these decisions they've made will actually have on the economy. Or I guess, yeah, okay, so this next person saying, please excuse me. It'll be 45 minutes before the museum opens. Okay. So is he getting rushed? If you still have questions, could you please raise your hand? Okay. So they're having this at a museum.
ここからは質問はお一人当たり1問にも絞っていただき、内容も簡潔にしていただければと思います。総裁にもご協力お願いいたします。
はい、毎日新聞大久保さん。
That's the moderator talking.
そうですね、毎日新聞の大久保です。1点お願いします。日銀は食料品価格の上昇というのは一時的なものというご認識だと思うんですけれども、これがその基調的なものに変わっていくという恐れはないのでしょうか。特に今の円安が進行したり継続したりした場合に、食料品価格というものが基調的に上がった状態が続くというリスクはございませんでしょうか。
はい、そういう面もあるかもしれませんけれども、理屈上は賃金が継続して上がる、2% インフレと整合的な、率で上がっていくということが、うまくいけば展望されるわけですけれども、そうしましたらさまざまな企業、食料品関係の企業を含めましてそれはある種のコスト上昇になりますから、その分は価格に転嫁されるという、ことは継続的に起こる可能性がありますし、食料品価格上昇の理由のアンケートみたいのを見ていますと、そういうことも理由の一つだというふうに答えている企業もある程度の割合で、いると思います。で、その部分は基調。
Okay, let's give this thing some time to catch up here. If all goes well, wages will continue to rise at the rate consistent with 2% inflation. But if that happens, it will result in some kind of cost increase for various companies, including food-related companies, so the food sector, food and beverage, whatever. So it is likely that this amount will continue to be added to, well, essentially prices will increase. A survey on the reasons for the rise in food prices, looking at this, so in observing the rise in food prices, I think a certain percentage of companies, okay, so they had a recent survey and a certain percentage of the companies gave that as a reason for price increases. Okay, let's. I think sure.
的なインフレ率の一要素だと思いますけれども。
はい、それでは、西日本新聞の石田さんお願いします。
Oh, my guy's tired.
西日本新聞石田と申します。よろしくお願いします。物価の上昇が続いている中で、この日銀がその利上げに慎重な姿勢がこの物価高を助長している面もあるんじゃないかと思うんですけど、今後その利上げをしていく場合にこの判断をこれまでよりも早めていくような考えっていうのは今現在ございますでしょうか。
申し上げるまでもなく私どもが適切な、タイミングで利上げの判断をするということが、物価を 2% に持続的安定的に、持続的安定的な 2% にスムーズに着地させるために必要なことでして、そうなるように適切な判断を続けていきたいと思います。
Okay.
はい、北海道新聞高橋さんお願いします。
Japanese newspaper.
北海道新聞の高橋と申します。
Okay, hold up, please. I just want to figure out with this guy, Mr. Ishida. As prices continue to rise, wow, excuse me, guys. As prices continue to rise, I think the Bank of Japan's cautious stance in raising interest rates maybe contributing to a rise in prices. Do you currently have any plans to make this decision earlier than in the past when raising interest rates in the future? So he's saying that delay is causing a rise in prices. Making a decision to raise interest rates at the right time is what is necessary in order for prices to reach a sustainable and stable 2% level smoothly. And I will continue to make the appropriate decisions to achieve this goal. So he's speaking like our boy Jerome Powell. Well, really Trump's boy, but our guy Jerome Powell talking about how, they'll continue to make the appropriate decisions to reach and achieve this goal of 2%, 2%. Is there some historic data on why they're choosing 2%? Because I need to maybe break that down. I don't know why they're aiming for 2%. It's an entirely unachievable number, especially with the conditions that we're in economically right now. But it seems to be the talking point for pretty much every central bank governor. Anyway.
よろしくお願いします。賃上げの関係についてですね、先ほども少し出たんですが、中小企業の方では25年並みは難しいという声が多く聞かれたという調査結果出ておられたかと思います。で、大手企業が堅調にですね賃上げを進めていく中で採用競争力相対的に落ちていくところにあると思うんですが、現状中小企業の今回の利上げにあたってですね、現状中小企業の業況についてどのように判断されているのかというところと、合わせて緩和的環境のサポートっていうところがこれから若干弱くなると思うんです。
Hey, I just realized that I have some viewers on YouTube. Guys, sorry, I actually haven't been doing the whole preview thing while this thing has been going. For the most part, I've just been, honestly, I've been multitasking, doing my own thing on the side. But let's see. I got a question here from Julius Caesar, talking about no GPN. Is the AI bubble going to crash? I don't know. That's a good question. I guess we'll find out. Right now, it seems to be one of the only things that's holding at least the U.S. economy up. Just look at the Dixie, because if they give a specific target, then it looks like they are going to hike aggressively, even if that is what they are going to do. 2% is universal neutral. Cool. Appreciate it in between here and there. Really cool name. But yeah, my thoughts exactly. Just didn't have the words to articulate it in time. But yeah, I guess I should pay attention to both Twitter and YouTube. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your participation. I mean, no expectations of these kinds of lives at all, because I'm new on the block, to be honest, in retrospect. But I appreciate you tuning in. 42 on Twitter. Holy mother of God. Anyway, yeah, pretty cool. We'll continue. Hopefully this isn't dragged on for too much longer.
そのことによる中小企業の業績への下押し圧力が経済全体に与える影響というところをどういうふうにご覧になっているか教えてください。
はい、春闘の初動のモメンタムチェックの中で中小企業についてもなるべく見るようにしてきましたけれども、労使双方で若干ではありますけれども前向きの動きはちょっと具体的な名前は省略させていただきますが、動きはあったというふうに見ていますし、私どもの本視点を通じる調査でも中小企業のコンタクト先にかなりの程度ヒアリング等は行っています。その上でその前提となる賃金、引き上げの前提となる収益、これについてですけれども、 これはですね、例えば法人企業統計で規模別
so
に
he's
収益動向をチェックしたりし
wow.
ますと、
That was
必
really
ずしも中
aggressive.
小企業は悪くないという結果。
All right, hold on. That was really aggressive. Sorry about that. All right, so he's answering the first part of the question. Let's see if I can follow here. Make a decision on this. No, achieve the goal. Okay, please tell me how you view the influence. 25, I think the survey results showed that there were many people who said it was difficult. As we move forward with wage increases, I think the competitiveness of recruitment will be relatively declining. Are you kidding? Yeah, people are not hiring. Okay, hiring. I'm assuming that's what he's addressing here. Let me see if I could follow that. Recruitment. Recruitment is synonymous with hiring, or yeah, I'm assuming competitive recruitment. It would decline. I mean, have you seen the job loss data across the globe? It's pretty disgusting, to be honest. But anyway, but apparently the expectation for AI companies not hiring, or at least AI-centric roles not, having a positive growth trend is actually, it came back better than expected. So the trend to actually take into consideration here, excuse me, the trend to take into consideration here is if you have AI-related skills, like just pair that with your skill set. Let's say you're a teacher, you are well-versed with AI to some extent, you may very well keep your job because you have a certain level of understanding of where the trends for education are going. If you are a banker, you probably leverage AI to some extent when it comes to, unless you have a Bloomberg terminal at your disposal, you likely know how to leverage information to make good trades, especially if you're investment banking. I'm assuming they have tools that are more enabling in that regard. Why am I going on this tangent on AI? Because that's a current item that seems to be affecting hiring. Let me just confirm that that's what he's talking about first and foremost. Currently, this part here, currently with regard to this interest rate hike, or for small and medium size businesses or enterprises, I think that I think that support for accommodative environment, the accommodative environment will be weakened a little in the future in conjunction with, in conjunction with how the situation is. What is he trying to say here? Situation, I'm assuming the job market is what he's trying to address here. How the job market would, yeah, I'll just go with the job market on that one. Anyway, let's see. I don't know how far back this stream is, but okay. We have to look at small to medium businesses as much as possible during our checks. But although there are some positive movements on both labor and management sides. Okay, so he's talking about blue and white collar jobs. I will omit the specific names. In the survey conducted through our branches, we also conducted interviews with small to medium businesses. They had some contacts with some small and medium businesses about the level of compliance, etc. On top of that, we also conducted interviews with small to medium businesses about the level of compliance. Why is that repeated twice? Is that my fault? Okay, let's just go on.
が出ています。従いまして経済全体としてはある程度好調な収益を中小企業も上げているということかなと思います。したがって問題はばらつきであったり、あるいはすごい零細な企業がどうかというところだと思いますので、そこはなるべく手を尽くして見ていきたいと思っています。
はい。それでは TBS の飯田さんお願いします。
TBS テレビの井出野と申します。今回これまでのご説明の中で、
Okay, Okay, before Miss TBS keeps talking, give me a second here. Great serialization or stabilization. I don't know what I'm looking at here. So I think it's a matter of whether or not the company has great serialization. So I'd like to do my best to look into that. So he's going to have this same answer. At least that's going to be the focal point of most of his answers here. He's going to say we're going to observe, we're going to take our time to assess, we're going to analyze, and he's given himself about 6 months of a runway. So next summer or whatever. When is summer in Japan? Summer in Japan. That's June and August, June to August. So slightly, yeah, okay. So I was pretty much on point. 6 months, okay? They're going to give themselves about 6 months runway to analyze the markets to see what kind of effect their decision is going to make on the markets. And then once that is made, or once that's assessed, they will likely work to save the yen further or retreat and capitulate and drop rates again because the situation is terrible. My bet is the situation is going to be terrible. Let me call a prediction right now, and I'm not a prediction guy. I'm just a person who assesses what the global economy likes to throw our way. We're looking at a very terrible Canadian market in 2026 for the economy in general because of policy, budget decisions that were made by the current government, and we're also talking about it may look like, America is having a party, like, oh yeah, like, hey, you can make a lot of money, huge decisions. Trump is very, very theatrical when it comes to the condition of the American economy. In relativity, America is doing a lot better than most countries, but it's not to be ignored that their economy is in trouble. Okay. Crypto is definitely a lifeline that they're trying to leverage. They've definitely openly shown that AI is saving the economy. So they've invested trillions and trillions, billions, hundreds of billions in AI, in attracting investment and so on. But the conversation of gold, I guess gold is one thing. Every central bank is buying gold, or at least, unless you're Canada. I don't know if there are any releases on the Bank of Canada making a decision to top up their gold reserves, like literally, as opposed to the attempt of possibly nationalizing certain gold mines. You didn't hear that from me. But yeah, oil is a big deal. Right now we're looking at a dip in the price of oil because of a few factors. The Americans will make it seem like they are, doing this on purpose, or like, they're doing it for the benefit of their economy or their citizens, like the U.S. economy and U.S. Residents or consumers. That's the right word I was going for. I don't necessarily think it's actually a very nice place to be for business, especially because if the price of oil goes down, that means certain people's friends don't make money. Put that into perspective. So how will the Bank of Japan position themselves to not destroy the global economy in one sweep? They're going to do it slowly. Death by 1,000 cuts, and pun intended, we're talking about Japanese and the samurai sword. I guess it makes sense in this regard. All these reporters are asking questions as to, how quickly will they make these decisions? One can read between the lines. I'm getting some really good comments from you guys anyway, so let's see if you guys had anything else to say about it. Let's see. Yeah, because if they give specific answers, I got that. Basically, unemployment risks are rising. Yep. As inflation risks are rising. Yes, they said they're basically kicking the can down the road. They're hiking small now. But if they hike small now, they will have to be a lot more aggressive in 6 months' time, especially. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so they may, they may do their best to save the falling knife called the yen. Guys, pay attention to Berkshire Hathaway. Apparently, I read something about Warren Buffett positioning himself for something. Yeah, hey, this is all a game of musical chairs, in my opinion. By all means, if you're watching this, I'm just going to assume that you're part of the Future Squad now. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be discussing a lot of ways to make sure that we leverage this situation called the decline in global economies. It's not looking pretty, but yeah, he did. I like you between here and there. Yeah. Well, at least you're engaging, so I appreciate your participation in this stream. I'm more active on Threads, believe it or not, than Twitter. But I pay attention to Twitter a lot. But anyway, hey, you guys did not tune in to hear me babble. Let's talk to Mr. Ueda-sama, see what he has to say. Hopefully he has. I mean, they have a museum to open, so apparently he's probably going to end this quickly here.
12月会合で利上げができると判断した理由は理解したんですけれども、逆に言うとこの視点を通じた例えば賃上げのアンケートとああいうことを実施してまで12月に判断しなければならない、あるいはするべきと考えた理由はどういうところにあるのか、例えば円安が長期化していることなどを念頭に置かれたのか、そういった点についてお考えをお聞かせください。
はい、これは一般論になりますけれども、利上げのタイミングを間違えますと、あるいは
Yeah, I know.
遅れますと、
just for tonight.
申し上げていることですけれども、
He's definitely done.
後になって極めて大幅な利上げを迫られるという可能性がしばしばあります。でそういうことによっては経済あるいは金融に大きなマイナスですので、いうことが基本的な判断の根拠でございます。
はい、ロイター通信の和田さんお願いします。
ロイターの和田と申します。よろしくお願いします。今後その経済物価や金融情勢を見ながら、その利上げの反応を見ながらですね、この中立金利の居所というのを探っていくというお話でしたけれども、中立金利というのがどこにあるのかっていうのは定かでない中で利上げを続けていくときに、利上げの時にこの中立金利を超えてしまうリスクもあるんじゃないかなと思いまして、そうするとその今後の利上げにあたってはこれまでとは違って経済物価金融情勢の判断をより慎重にやっていかなければならないのではないかなと思うんですけど、この辺いかがでしょうか。
そういうリスクがあることは否定できないですけれども、これは
Okay. A little bit of runaway questions here, but the lady asked earlier something to do with housing. I don't know why this is here. I just actually searched what this word iasu. I'm assuming that's the right pronunciation. Forgive me, my Japanese fam, if I'm screwing that up. But it says, however, okay, so she's asking here, what was the reason behind the decision in December to conduct a survey on wage increases through this branch of the bank, I'm assuming is what he's talking about. For example, did you take into account that the House is being extended for a long time? Are they talking about Parliament? Maybe it's something to do with Parliament. I have no idea. I'm assuming that's the House of Commons, House of Representatives, House. I'm assuming Japan has an equivalent. That's my assumption. Maybe out to lunch. But this next guy says, if you look, well, I look forward to working with you. While looking at financial situations and looking at the sales response, you mentioned that we will explore the highlights of the neutral interest rate, which is at 2%. While we are not sure where the neutral rate is, I guess we'll figure that out. I think that if we continue to raise rates, there is a risk a neutral interest rate will be exceeded when we raise the rate. Okay, we do so. Okay, I think we need to proceed with caution. What do you think? I can't deny this. So, what did he just get punted a home run here by the by the reporter? Yeah.
諸外国の中央銀行を見ても、中立金利がわからない、そういう中でわからないというか、必ずしも正確には特定できないという中で、利上げや利下げの判断を迫られ、いうことはみんなやってきていることですので、データをこれまで以上にきめ細かく、特に何回も今日申し上げましたが、金利変化に対する経済金融の反応をきめ細かく見ることによって、過ちの可能性をできるだけ、低くしたいと思います。
はい、読売新聞岡本さんお願いします。
読売新聞の岡本と。
Okay, hold on, sir. Okay, I don't know. I don't know about it. I can't deny the character. In the middle of the day, at the end of the day, the interest rates are being raised and we are forced to make decisions, which is something we have all done. Okay, so I will explain the data in more detail than ever before. Okay, as I've said many times, today, I'd like to reduce the possibility of mistakes as much as possible by looking at the economic and financial responses to the interest rates, to interest rate change in more detail. He's going to give the same answer. That's his job.
よろしくお願いします。今回の利上げは今年1月の利上げ以来11ヶ月、約1年ぶりの利上げになったと思います。前回の利上げの時もしっかりとした賃上げを実施するといった声が聞かれるというようなお話をされてまして、で今回もしっかりとした賃上げが実施される可能性が高いというようなことを理由に挙げられていたと思います。ただその春闘のこういう賃上げを確認することで、ここ2回連続2回の利上げを判断されたってなると、次利上げする時もまたその春闘というものに依存するというか、そこの判断がないとできなくなってしまうんじゃないかなと少し思ったんですが、今後もその賃金と物価が緩やかに上昇していくメカニズム、これを確認するのにはどういうところを確認して判断ができると考えていらっしゃるのか教えてください。
Okay. That was a lot. I think he almost got pissed off there for a second. It's been 11 months since the interest rate hike. And I think it's been about a year since the interest rate hike, sure. When the interest rate was raised last time, there was talk that there were voices calling for a firm wage increase. And I think the reason given was there was a high possibility that the firm wage increase would be implemented. Okay, so like a mandatory wage increase across the board for Japan. However, by confirming the wage increases in the spring labor union, the decision was made to raise interest rates twice in a row, which means that when raising rates next time, also I thought for a moment that it would depend on the spring labor movement, as in like the wage price, I don't know. Sure. And that it would not be possible to do without making that kind of judgment. Okay, somebody's mechanism of gradual rise. Please tell me what you think we should check to confirm this. I think he's trying to confirm a kind of economic school of thought, maybe. Let's see how this guy answers.
賃金と物価が、そこに影響し合って、少しずつ上昇していくという基調的物価の上昇の根本のところを見るには、やっぱり賃金が一つの大きなポイントになるということで、たまたまといいますか、この2回の利上げは賃金のところに焦点が当たったということでありますが、賃金の上昇が物価にどう波及するかというところは当然大きなポイントでありますし、そこは非常に難しくて、物価の動きがこれも申し上げてますように、基調的な物価の動きと一時的な動き両方から来てますので、 基調的な物価の動きはどうなのかというところをまず識別しないといけないわけですが、それができた上でどう動いているかということを見て、で、政策の判断をするということは当然十分あり得るということだと思います。
再び幹事社から失礼いたします。会見終了時間まで残り5分ほどとなりました。まだ質問がある方、すみませんが、また挙手お願いできますでしょうか。
Okay, so the moderator is letting them know that they have 5 minutes left until the end of the press conference. And his answer was to that mechanism question was, in order to look at the root cause of the root cause of rise in wages, the following is one of the major points. So it just so happens that the next two interest rates have focused on following, but of course the big point is whether what are you saying? It comes from both the strong enemy of price movements, so resistance in price movements and temporary movements. Okay, so we first have to identify what the weather-related price movements are like. Weather-related price, so essentially the climate. Is that what it is? It's a literal translation for this, but I'm assuming you have to check the climate of price movement. But I think it's quite possible that once we've done that, we can make production decisions based on how things are moving. They're just going to be analyzing the economy and the financial environment over the course of the next 6 months. I'm assuming that's what he's saying. Like that. Well, okay. We're almost wrapped up here anyway.
はい、それでは内容を簡潔に、質問内容を簡潔にお願いいたします。
はい、ニュースソクラト千代さんお願いします。
こちらです。会見は始まりましたからね、わずかですけれども円安が進んでいます。その後は見てないんですけれども、これは中立金利へのご回答にあるようにですね、若干次回以降の利上げについて総裁のご発言が慎重だなというふうに受け取っているのかなと思ったりしています。円相場について非常に関心が高いのはですね、やっぱり消費者としての国民は円相場に振り回されているんですね。で、インフレに苦しんでいるわけですけれども、特に食品インフレに苦しんでいて、食品は自給率が 38% しかないようにですね、非常に円安に影響をすごく受けて、値上げが続いているのもそのせいですよね。で、そういう意味で言うと、今回の利上げは歓迎されているとは思いますが、あえて言えば国民生活が豊かになるようにね、円高に進められるような、金利水準で言えば 1% が、ね、すでに実現しているようなぐらいのことがあってもよかったんじゃないかと思います。そういう意味では、どうでしょう、不透明感が今後もね、薄れていくようならば、利上げスピードを加速する可能性はあるんでしょうか。
He's going to repeat the same question. He's going to repeat the same answer again. But the question here is, well, he started with a statement here. The yen is depreciating, albeit slightly. As mentioned in your response to the neutral interest rate, I wonder if the governor's comments are being interpreted as being cautious about the next interest rate hikes. I'm very concerned about the yen, exchange rate. As consumers, the people are at the mercy of the yen exchange rate. In particular, food is suffering from inflation. Don't get me started with eggs. That was a conversation last year. I think everybody's just quiet about that here in North America. Excuse me. And the food self-sufficiency rate is only 38%. What is that? I'll have to look into that. It's very chlorine. Not sure what that means. Anyway, the yen's depreciation has had a huge impact on the rate of inflation. It's the rate of interest rate hikes The yen's depreciation has had a huge impact. So essentially, the interest rate hikes have affected the depreciation of the yen, is what I'm going to take from that. Let's read it slightly backwards. And I think this rate hike is welcomed, though. Yeah, at least the way in which they did the rate hike is welcomed for sure. It's not too aggressive. I think it would have been good to have an interest rate level of 1. I told you guys. It would have been very good for the yen, but terrible for the rest of the world if they jumped that thing to 1 right away. Whew. We would not be talking. I think the internet would have just been crashed. Our internet servers would have crashed. I'm just playing. I don't necessarily know what would have actually been the case. Don't take this as financial advice or anything of the sort. But it would be terrible financially for a lot of foreign investment, for sure, which has already been achieved. Sorry, wait, what is he saying? It's been achieved. It's only at 0.75. What does he mean it's been achieved? Which has already been achieved. So so that people's lives could be enriched. Okay, cool. The yen could appreciate. Man, how do you reverse 30 years of easy money? All at once, I suppose. All at once. Just one swooping crash and everything could be rebalanced, reset, the great reset. If the sense of uncertainty continues to fade, is there a possibility of accelerating rate hikes? Yeah, I think one of the comments that came through here is all at once here. Aggressive. What was that question from, that statement from my trusty in between here and there? What did you say earlier? That stuck in my mind here. All right, so they're hiking it small now, but if the hike is small now, they will have to be a lot more aggressive in 6 months' time. Yeah, well, we can essentially assume that. So that would, again, save the yen, because if everybody's being a nationalist in 2025, why not the Japanese? Why not the Japanese? They might as well take care of their own. I mean, everybody's taking care of their own right now. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm assuming they're done. Let's see.
はい、為替レートの短期の動きにはコメントを差し控えますけれども、ご指摘のような円安が物価に影響を与える、あるいは特に基調的な物価に影響を与えるという可能性については、企業の賃金価格設定行動が積極的になっているもとで、注意して見ていきたいと思います。
はい、日本経済
Leave the man alone. He's done. Okay. He says he refrains from making any comments on short-term developments. But regarding the possibility of depreciation of the yen, as you have pointed out, will have an impact on the prices and profits. I think that corporate, I think that transpire, maybe? I don't know. We're reading between the lines here.
新聞清水さんお願いします。
He said thank you or something.
日経新聞の清水です。よろしくお願いいたします。今回実質金利について極めて低いとか大幅なマイナスという評価をされたわけですけども、この文言については常識的に考えればあと1回 0.25% の利上げでは対処しにくいと思うんですけども、この大幅なマイナスの実質金利、極めて低い実質金利に対して残り1回の利上げで対処することもあり得るというふうに考えてよろしいんでしょうか。
対処といいますか、利上げの余地がどれくらいかというご質問だと思うんですけれども、それは先ほど来申し上げてますように今回の利上げの、経済金融環境、経済物価金融環境への影響をチェックしつつ判断していきたいと思っております。
はい、アークタイムズ尾形さんお願いします。
アークタイムズの尾形です。総裁こちらです。ですね、
Okay, what did he say here? This time, real gold was evaluated at extremely low or significantly negative. Real gold, real money, real gold. What could that be? Real gold. Anyway, okay. So I think it would be difficult to deal with this wording with one more. It'd be difficult to deal with this situation, this wording, with one more 25 basis point hike. But I think it's safe to think that it is possible to deal with the significantly negative real interest rate, which is extremely low, with just one more interest rate hike. What are you saying, my good sir? I think that's your question, but I think you've lowered it. What did I miss? What's going on? Corey, come here. Come on. Let me see if I could attend to this sleeping one here. Come on. Alrighty. Come. What are you saying here? Let me just end this off nicely, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to attend to my...
今回、政策金利 0.75、30年ぶりの水準ということについて、特別な意味はないと、物価状況も含めて違うからという話をされてましたけれども、ただ、これだけ異常なですね、金融緩和が続き、一方で下振れリスクもある中で、今日の冒頭のコメントをお聞きしていても、かなり苦労されながらですね、利上げをしているということが、読み取れるんですが、この30年目の節目ですので、この異常な金融緩和であったアベノミクスについてどう評価、意味をどう見るか、そしてアベノミクスから決別する時だと私は思いますけれども、総裁はその点はどういうふうにお考えかお聞かせください。
My guy just hit him with an essay before he left. This guy's just trying to go home. Like, okay, you said there is no special meaning to this because the price situation and other factors are different. But it's just that this is abnormal with contract easing, continuing contract easing. I'm assuming he's talking about anyway. Contract easing continuing, and on the other hand, there is also a risk of trade in. Like, I understand that you are raising interest rates with great difficulty. Yeah, I mean, this guy looks like he's scared for his life, even though you are listening to the comments at the beginning of today. This is the 30th anniversary of Abenomics. Anyway, which Abenomics, 30th anniversary of Abenomics. Is he trying to say that it's the first time in 30 years that they're increasing these rates? Is that what it is? Which was this abnormal monetary easing? Okay, yeah. So he's talking about the 30 years of amazing money. How do you evaluate it from Abenomics? I think it is time to make a break. But please tell us what you think about that point. What point? You're just annoying this man. Just let him be.
アベノミクスとの関係ですけれども、基本的には、アベノミクスといいますか、政府と日銀の共同宣言に沿って私ども金融政策を行ってきたんだと思いますけれども、その今は最後の仕上げ時期に入っているという認識でございます。もちろんその副作用もあったと思いますし、いつも申し上げているようにこれから出てくるものもあるかとは思いますけれども、とりあえず私どもの目指すところとしては、最後の仕上げをなるべくスムーズに着地させるというところでございます。
はい、直井企画の直井さんお願いします。
All right, I'm getting some intel here from between here and there. Thanks for coming in hot with the explanation on Abenomics. Is their previous PM. He's the one who came up with the situation for both countries and the world to prosper. Yeah, clearly. Okay, cool. Regarding the relationship with Abenomics. Okay. I believe I believe that we have some we have implemented monetary policy in line with the joint declaration between the government and Japan. Okay. But we are now in final stages of that. Of course, there have been side effects. Yeah, which like, the depreciation of the yen. And I think there will be more to come. But for now, my goal is to get final touches off as smoothly as possible, man. Okay.
合同会社直井企画フリーの直井敦と申します。中立金利の推計が幅があって難しいということはよく理解いたしました。改めてですね、その総裁ご覧になってその中立金利を推計する上で大事な要素っていうのは例えばどんなものがありますでしょうか。それは半年前、1年前と比べて何か変化はありますでしょうか。
はい、一つは答えになってないんですが、データがたくさんあった方がいいということですし、さらに申し上げれば中立金利の周りで、中立金利が高かったり低かったりということは何回も繰り返されていると、中立金利はより精密に推計。
Hey, thanks for the explanation on that one. Yeah, I'm assuming I have to polish up on my Japan history for that for sure. Yeah, but man, good times. What is that? Is it lazy men and hardworking men, or good men make good times, or something like that? Like at the end of the day, if you're enjoying good times for 30 years, best believe you're going to hit the ground very hard when bad times come. That's essentially what I'm gathering from this. Am I right in that? I think I'm right. But let's go back to what he's saying here. He said there's no special meaning to this. Okay, next. Once again, I fully understand estimating the interest rate is difficult due to Okay, regarding the relationship with that box, no, I think we touched that. It is better to have a lot of data. Yeah. He's repeated this many times, guys. Just let him be. Okay. Let him be. Let the guy go to bed. It's late.
されやすいということです。
I'm just playing. It's
残念ながら
mid-afternoon.
そういう何回ものサイクルは過去に30年見ても日本経済にあまり多くはなかったということです。また違う観点から申し上げれば、中立金利は潜在成長率と関係が深い概念ですので、潜在成長率についてもう少し情報があるとか、そこと中立金利の関係については、考察を深めるとか、それはもう一つの接近方法だと思います。
Yeah, so look at that. Unfortunately, even if we look at the past 30 years from perspective of the Japanese economy, the neutral interest rate is a concept that is closely related to the potential growth rate. So I think that we should have a little more information about potential growth rate and deepening our considerations of the relationship between that and the neutral interest rate. That is another approach. Yeah, how can you decipher the effect of 30 years in literally the span of 6 months like that? The obvious trajectory is inflation, the depreciation of your economy, your national currency, and man, I guess a lot of people owing you money. That's one thing. But then again, they also are one of the largest holders of U.S. bonds, so treasury bonds. It's going to be interesting. This economic cross-pollination has been, I'd like to say, a failed experiment. It's not sustainable past one generation, I don't think at all. But that's on the foot of globalization, right? So a lot of countries have become interdependent. I mean, the entire world at this point is almost dependent on China for production. You know, the Japanese used to be very well respected for their hardware production, like when it comes to tech, like anything. I remember back in the day, like certain phone companies preferred to have their manufacturing in Japan. robotics has been something that has definitely taken flight over the past. I mean, didn't Japan lead in robotics for like the longest time before it became mainstream? You know, even Japanese built cars were respected, like Nissan. I think Nissan is Japanese. I should be right. Mazda. Hey, let's just. I don't care. Mazda. Is what country? Japanese. I remember my dad, you know, investing or buying their really nice. They had some really cool fire trucks. You know, those really small, dinky, like classic fire trucks. He used to import, export those things when I was a kid. That was all Japan. You know, so yeah, it was a nice playground for a long time. 30 years is a long time. But yeah. It's a scary situation for sure. Which direction this is all going to go. But hey, one president once said that they're going to wipe out all their debt with a little crypto check, you know? Yeah, a little crypto check. It's too late to try and imitate Trump, but I know Japan is fully expecting to have to utilize a specific cryptocurrency in case ish hits the fan. If things go awry, they're looking to leverage a particular currency. That is homework for the day. I'm personally interested in finding out to what extent they're planning on using XRP to support their economy, but it probably has something to do with liquidity, right? Let's see. Yeah.
東洋経済の黒崎です。今回の決定の中で実質金利が極めて低い水準にあるという表現がありましたけれども、この実質金利というのはどの実質金利を指すのかというのをこれまで1年10年を使って、差し引くインフレ率は予想物価上昇率を使っているケースが多かったかと思うんですが、総裁選だっての12月1日の講演ではコア CPI を差し引くのに使ってらして、改めてちょっとこの実質金利はどの数字を指すのかなというのもどちらを用いるかでCPI と予想物価上昇率、今後日銀の予測だと方向性が違うので緩和度合いというのも分かれてくるのかなと思いまして、実質金利の定義を教えていただければ幸いです。
はい、実質金利の計算の時に予想インフレ率のところに何を使うかっていう。
Let's wait for this translator to catch up. Any changes? No? There we go. Catch up. Okay, I don't think I even caught what she said. I wonder if they will separate. I think we're talking about the neutral interest rate thing. So I'd appreciate it if you could tell me the definition of the real interest rate. She's giving this guy homework. This guy wants to go to bed. He's tired. Okay? Let Mr. Ueda-sama go home. He's tried his best to answer your questions and he's repeated himself 1,000 times. Watch him repeat himself one more time. Let's see. One more for the boys.
ではその計算をする人の考えで幅がある概念だと思います。たださまざまな予想インフレ率を使っていろいろ計算したとしても、オーバーナイトの政策金利のところから2、3年のところ短期ゾーンまでははっきりと大きなマイナスだということは言えるかと思います。
Even if you do a lot of calculations, I think it would be said that there is a clear big minus or delta from the interest rate of overnight production to short-term. A big minus, a big drop, potentially big drop to short-term zone of 23 years. So their range is 23 years and that has decreased. Okay, yeah, well, yeah, we're talking about the heydays of Mazda just a few moments ago here. Mazda and Nissan. I don't know that they hold the same weight as they used to when it comes to that first mover advantage. I may be wrong and completely up to lunch what he's talking about, but anyway, I think the concept that it's wide range ideas, depending on people who go home. I think that was my ad lib earlier. Okay, let's move on.
はい、ブルームバーグニュース藤岡さんお願いします。
Okay.
ブルームバーグの藤
I
岡
have
で
5
す。
minutes.
中立金利についてお伺いしたいんですが、日銀の推計として幅はあるものの、大体1から 2.5% というものを出されていると思います。総裁のお考えとしては、幅があるけど、大体この間にあると考えてらっしゃるのか、それとということは、その 1% に行ったら別に上限にぶつかったということでもないし、 2.5% までいけるということでもないということを理解をしていいのか、それとも先ほど来おっしゃっているように、その経済物価金融情勢を見ながらということであれば、例えばその 0.75 で終わって利上げっていうのが、これが中立っていう可能性も総裁はお考えになっているんでしょうか。
大事な点としては、統計的な推計作業だけでは絞りきれないようなもの、あるいはような状況にあるということだと思います。したがって繰り返しですけれども、金利変動に対する経済の反応を見つつ手探りで見ていかないといけないということだと思います。
朝日新聞原さんお願いします。
朝日新聞の原です。よろしくお願いします。足元の為替相場についてお答えいただけないのは承知して。
Okay, so I totally just missed that last question here. Sorry, guys. One sec. Calculations are I think there's a situation we cannot narrow down. Okay, personally, I just think they're just wasting this guy's time. And like I said, I have 5 minutes. That's been shrunk down to 4 left before I have to go because I cannot be on here forever myself. I have a few things to wake up for.
おりますが、円安の構造要因についてお伺いしたいと思います。今の物価高が始まったこの起点となった2022年からカウントしますと、円ドルレートでいうと40円ぐらい円安になってるわけですね。でこれは普通の景気変動の影響の幅を大きく超える非常に尋常ならざる変動幅だと思うんですけれども、この変動というのは日本経済どのような構造変化が起きたのかということを総裁にお伺いしたいと思います。日本の産業がそこまで地盤沈下したんでしょうか、あるいは日本経済の競争力がそこまで劣化したんでしょうか。
具体的な要因分解のようなことはちょっと私手元でしておりませんし、コメント差し上げるのに適当ではないと思いますが、一つは内外金利差がこの期間、おっしゃった期間では大きな影響を与えたと思います。その他におっしゃるような構造要因がある程度の影響を与えた可能性はあると思いますが、その構造要因が何であるかとか、その全体に占めるウエイトがどれくらいかということについてはちょっと今はコメントを差し控えさせていただければと思います。
Okay, what's my guy saying now? The question was, I would like to ask you in detail, what kind of structural changes have occurred in the Japanese economy? Have Japan's industries sunk to such an extent, or has the competitiveness of Japan's economy deteriorated to such an extent? Yes, it has. I mean, you don't need to ask that question, you know. I mean, look at their population growth as well. Like they're trying everything to attract investment back into the country to the extent of even selling homes for pennies on the dollar just to make sure that they prop that economy, that sector up. That's just a tangent. Sorry, guys. I think its situation cannot be narrowed. Okay, no. What does he say? I don't have a detailed analysis of the factors. Are you kidding? Dude, you're old enough to know. Look at you. I mean, no disrespect, but you should know. Like, of course he knows. It's his job. Sorry. Let's just be objective. It's his job to say these kinds of things. So I don't think it's appropriate to comment on them. He's also not supposed to make the Japanese economy unattractive. So the less he says, the better, technically. Okay, but one thing, what he says here, one thing is that they have a big impact during this period. I'm assuming he's talking about, okay, the period that you mentioned, I think that the structural factors that you mentioned have had some influence. He's talking about the industries and the competitive nature that I like to refrain from commenting. So he said the same thing twice, at the beginning of the sentence and at the end. I don't want to make a comment on this because I don't think it's appropriate. And he ends it off by saying, I want to refrain from commenting on the factors, what the factors are and how much of the total is wet. That's an interesting translation. Guys, how much of the total is wet? I wonder. I guess the factors that are influencing the Japanese economy are wet. Probably in the dump, deteriorating. Maybe that's what that means. Let's read between the lines on that one.
まだご質問のある方、しっかりと挙手をお願いいたします。それにお二方でいらっしゃいますでしょうか。それでは一番後ろの東洋経済の劉さん、そして日本経済新聞の新井さんの順番でお願いいたします。
東洋経済の劉です。よろしくお願いします。1年以上前の用語で恐縮なんですけれども、かつて物価上昇の圧力について第一の力と第二の力という。
What are you saying, my guy? Hold on a second. I don't have an. Okay, I read that already. I'd like Mr. Arai from that place, Nihon Keizai, to take his turn. Okay, so he's taking his turn.
宣言を提示されてご説明された時期がございました。足元の為替状況を考えると、いわゆる第一の力が再び戻ってきたということになりますが、この第一の力が戻ったこのような状況は、物価上昇率 2% に収束することを目指される上で、ポジティブなのかネガティブなのか、総裁のお考えをご教示願いますと幸いです。
Okay, considering the meridian interest rate, it means that the so-called first power has returned again. Oh man, we're going back to like. Okay, let's just read this. I think this might be interesting. But the first power has also returned. In this situation, when the price increase rate is 2%, you can get a job and aim to get a job. And positive money is a blessing to you. Okay, so I'm assuming it has something to do with maybe some superstition. I mean, there's a whole concept of auspiciousness when it comes to certain times. I'm assuming that has something to do with that. Let's see what the gang is saying. I thought I saw a blink here. Just give me a second. I don't know if I see it right. Am I out to lunch on that one, guys? Like, is there some sort of superstitious approach to this? Money that comes from a time and place? I'll tell you a quick story if I'm right here. Let's see. Here's another name for. Okay. Pretty important. Invesco. Sticky. Okay, sticky is wet. I get it. Okay, got it. Right, yeah. What is he talking about now though? Something returns and money's a blessing to you? Is that just another? Okay, well, let's go.
第一の力と第二の力の関係は微妙なところでして、第一の力の多くは一時的な要因ですので、時間が経てば消えていってしまうものですけれども、これが何らかの要因で、例えば。
Guys, I'm going to have to stop this right after this. The wife has just messaged me and I am 3 minutes over the time that I said I'd be done. So out of respect for my wife and the time that I've set with her, I would like to just close us off with this last answer from Ueda-sama and see what he says. But Kikuku, like the biggest index. Okay, cool. Brilliant. S&P. I'll look into this after, but yeah, I hope this is his last response here.
物価上昇率に影響を与えるとか、それを通してのケースもありますが、賃金上昇率に影響を与えるというようなメカニズムを通じて第二の力に波及するということは十分あり得るかと思います。ということにとどめさせていただきます。
それでは新井さんお願いします。
No more questions.
日本経済新聞の新井と申します。よろしくお願いします。ビハインドザカーブに陥るリスクは総裁小さいと見てらっしゃるとは思うんですけど。
No, I have to be a man of my word. Okay, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, this is Future Trend Today, where we try to focus on future trends taking shape in today's world. Just feel free to hit the subscribe button, the the follow button on X, on Threads, on Instagram. Instagram is heavy with this kind of analysis and content. I try to pick up as much as I can from global conferences like this one, meetings that are focused around money. I'd very much love to continue the conversation, but this is my second stream. I will be doing this more often. I'll try to see if I can get some different perspectives from even Australia, different corners of the world. I'd like to look at UAE as well. Definitely, they have a lot of liquid cash or capital to put to work, and obviously the Canadian, the American, and the UK as well. Central America, Africa, as well. Obviously, Africa holds a very special place in my heart, but it's an emerging market in general. A lot of countries are positioned for a very good next few decades, but that really comes down to what policy the current powers in the world have to say about that. So interesting perspectives either way. Loved every one of you that each and every one of you that joined. Appreciate the comments here and there, from in between here and there. I appreciate you guys, Just for Night, and Julius. Yeah, everybody else, thanks for joining. Definitely catch you guys on the next one. But as always, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I will be doing this so often. So we have a very interesting Q4 lined up. Well, coming to a close at this rate. Like, I was assuming that everything would go well with crypto, but I guess we have to wait for 2026. I don't know, guys. Are we hodling? We'll find out what this what all this interest rate talk, or how would this interest rate talk would affect that. So yeah, this is the longest conclusion, but yeah, we're just dancing around that $88,000 mark for Bitcoin. Ethereum is looking really attractive right now to me, but XRP below $2 is a bargain in my opinion. I'll only start getting scared if it dropped to 50 cents like it did in pre-November 2024. That's when to get scared, I think. But hey, party's still going, music's still playing, so all the best. Of course, not financial advice. You guys take care. Pay attention to all the nuanced alpha that's online. I wish I had a live stream with people talking back more often. This is fun. I really like it. But yeah, appreciate you guys' participation and engagement, and we'll see you on the next one. Let me see if I could end this off smoothly without crashing the market. I'm just playing. Yeah, where are we? We are here. All right. Take care, guys.